Moving on to the Middle East precisely, the West was caught flat-footed in the Arab Spring.
Absolutely.
And it seems that it's still unsure what to do. Is that a fair assessment?
That is exactly right. I completely agree with it. There was a great fear of change. So you had established dictatorships with whom the West had worked for years and years, not only the United States, Europe as well, dealing with all these regimes. And we became comfortable with that, even though we knew that they were repressive toward their own people, that they were not providing economic opportunities. And so under the surface was this boiling resentment against these regimes. When it changed, we were flat-footed. We didn't know what to do. And now we've seen that in the absence of democratic and tolerant forces establishing government in societies, they're being pushed aside by extremist militants who are themselves trying to take power. We're caught between two extremes that are deadly serious, the dictatorships and the Islamist extremists, the terrorists. They don't represent the majority of the people. The majority of the people would like something that is more normal, something that is governance that is fair, economic opportunities for people to pursue livelihoods for themselves and their families, the ability to not have an arbitrary government sitting on top of them. Basically what people around the world aspire to. They aspire to that in the Middle East. But unfortunately, you have people on the Sunni extremist side helping them. You have Iran and Hezbollah helping some of the Shia. You have the dictatorships that have their own access to weapons getting support as well. The only people who aren't getting support are the ones who deserve it most, and that's the ones who would like to build a more inclusive and tolerant and more democratic Middle East.
You have kind of described the contradictions within the Middle East. What are your worst fears? Do you see a regional civil war, a regional conflict along sectarian lines, Shia versus Sunni?
You know what I would most worry about is a breakdown in state order that results in widespread warfare in the Middle East that could result in the use of some form of weapon of mass destruction. Chemical weapons possibly, as we've seen in Syria, but it's been very minor thus far, but possibly even a biological weapon or the risk of radioactive or fissile or nuclear materials. You could really have a wide-scale conflagration. You see that the war in Syria has already spread. It has brought in Hezbollah from Lebanon. It has begun to destabilize Jordan somewhat. Jordan is really worried about this. It has helped reignite fighting inside Iraq between Sunni and Shia groups. The Kurdish part of Iraq has protected itself by putting up walls, and you've seen refugee flows and even attacks inside Turkey. And that's just where we are today. The longer this goes on, with no side really winning, and I don't think any one side can win against the other, you're going to see this continued spread of violence and conflict in the Middle East. And literally, tens of millions of people are affected by this already, and that will spread.
Finally, Ambassador Walker, turning to Iran, does Rouhani's election in Iran open a space for a dialogue with Tehran?
Well, there's always been space for a dialogue with Tehran. You don't need to open it. The issue is whether Iran wants to use that to solve problems, or Iran wants to use that to keep people talking while it develops a nuclear weapon. The latter has been the case, that Iran uses this as kind of a sideshow while it pursues its nuclear weapon. I think that is what Iran will continue to do. Remember that all of the candidates, including Rouhani, in the Iranian elections were pre-screened by the Ayatollahs to be eligible to run. So there is a confidence that they're not going to fundamentally change Iranian policy. Iranian policy is going to be basically the same, just new faces there. Now, I think the regime, or the Ayatollahs, I should say, may have been surprised that he won as strongly as he did. That was a way for the population to express in a choice between someone like Rouhani and Jalili, well, we'd rather go with someone who sounds more moderate. But that is still not a fundamental change of where Iran has been headed in the past many years and where it is likely to continue to go.
Ambassador Walker, it has been a pleasure. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.